Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome back to Sentinel Reviews. Today, we are reviewing the second of Doctor Who's 360th anniversary specials, Wild Blue Yonder, written by Russell T Davies, directed by Tom Kingsley. As always, there is a blanket spoiler discussion in place because I do these unscripted, so I do talk about spoilers. If you do not want to be spoilers, if you do not want to be spoiled, Doctor Who Wild Blue Yonder is available to watch on Disney Plus internationally or on iPlayer in the UK. Real quick, I want to apologize. If you did not see my posts on social media, if you do not follow me, or if you did not see it in the community tab, because I get the community tab now, yes, this video is really late. Because of reasons I'm not going to get into, on top of the holiday season, my work week is really chaotic right now. In fact, I have been having to pull 6-day weeks, and Wednesday is my only day off. It is what it is, so I am posting this today instead of immediately after it came out. And with the giggle, next week, it'll be the same thing. Wednesday is the only day I will have off again, so it'll be the only time I have to film. Wild Blue Yonder is probably the special I was most looking forward to, thinking about it in hindsight, because it's the one we knew the least about. Like, we knew about the Star Beast, and we have a little bit of information about the Giggle. Even if that information is just the 14th Doctor is going to regenerate, and Neil Patrick Harris is the Toymaker. But really, we knew nothing about Wild Blue Yonder. And as a matter of fact, too, the trailer gave us nothing. Looks like RTD took a note from the Chibnall era in how to properly advertise Doctor Who in give enough to tease but don't give everything away. This story is really good overall. I have some notes about it. Well, some. I took an entire page. But I have very few issues with it. I do have some, of course, but not a lot. So let's talk about it. First of all, the cold opening is meh. The cold opening seems to be really divisive. There are people who either really like it, or there are people who really don't. I'm just kind of in the middle. Take it or leave it. Honestly, if nothing else, with the Doctor and Donna sort of crash landing after the Star Beast when Donna spilled coffee on the TARDIS console, and they run into Isaac Newton. Again, you can really take this or leave it. It's fine. It's not bad. It's just, honestly, if nothing else, it just feels like padding. It feels like someone somewhere went, oh, hey, this episode is running a little short. We need something to kind of make it run just a little bit longer. And so they came up with this sequence in its place. Because this special, Star Beast was 59 minutes. This special is only 52 minutes. I don't know what the production was like, but that is just my theory. I really should watch those behind the scenes sort of mini documentaries that they've been uploading to their YouTube channel. But after that, the Doctor and Donna find themselves on a seemingly abandoned spaceship. And I'm going to pause right there to kind of talk about what this episode is going for, because this episode is going more for horror, which RTD really excels at. I think better than anything else he tries to do, honestly. With his shows like Years and Years, or even a Doctor Who episode he wrote that everyone kind of compares this to, Midnight. Yeah, this episode kind of gets compared a lot to Midnight in terms of tone, style, and execution. And there are comparisons to make, sure, but this episode is doing something completely different. Midnight was an enclosed space, an entity we know nothing about, an entity we never see, just with a group of people, and it's kind of going for claustrophobia. When the Doctor and Donna step out into this spaceship's corridor, and we see how wide and vast and expansive it is, this episode isn't going for claustrophobia the way Midnight was. This episode is going for isolation. Aside from the opening scene and the ending scene, David Tennant and Catherine Tate are the only two people in this episode. And they are phenomenal. They are essentially playing four characters, two each between them. More on that in a bit. But they really, really do it really well. They play both their characters, the Doctor and Donna, and the Not Things, Again, we'll talk about that more really well a little bit. They play it enough to differentiate it. And again, they just do it so well. I really have nothing to add to that. But on top of just these wide corridors, the Doctor and Donna find themselves at the edge of the universe. So far out that not even the light of the stars has traveled out that far to reach them. Just again, adding to that feel of isolation that this episode is going for and is doing so well. There are a couple of little other things I like too. Like, one, I like the movement of the TARDIS in this episode. We don't get a lot of it, but we do get some. Like, it doesn't just dematerialize, we actually get to see it land as it dematerializes. And similarly in the climax, the way David Tennant kind of sort of moves it, you know, he's standing in the doorway and he's sort of pushing it along with his foot. I just like how the TARDIS moves in this episode. We don't get a lot of it, but we do get some. We also get a sense, also the way this episode opens, you know, again, after the way the Star Beast ended with the Doctor, with Donna, spilling coffee on the TARDIS console, and which kind of caused it to go haywire, the Doctor now needs to give it time to configure. And he sort of does that by putting the sonic screwdriver in the keyhole, which sort of helps the reconfiguring process. It never really explicitly says how, or maybe the explanation was too techno-babbly, but while it's reconfiguring, a function, I forget what it's called now, shoot, and I didn't write it down, that the Doctor switched off, activates. Basically, the TARDIS will never land anywhere where there is a perceived threat, and because there was a point in time where the Doctor wasn't landing anywhere, he just turned it off. But because of the reset and the reconfiguration, this function got turned on, so the TARDIS, with the sonic screwdriver in it, dematerializes. No TARDIS, no Sonic. This episode is just really smart. You know, and again, I really like that too because the Doctor doesn't have the Sonic to fall back on. Especially after my concerns with the Star Beast, with how it was kind of getting magic wandified again in this era. But yeah, the Doctor doesn't have it. So this episode, and just in general, this episode is really smart. Like, every time the Doctor and Donna run into the Not Things, they have to try and come up with a new way to figure out who is the real Doctor and Donna. And they do this several times throughout the episode, but it never gets stale. And and the way the Doctor comes up with the solutions as this episode plays out is, again, just showing how smart this episode is. You know, forcing the Doctor to come up with other solutions because he doesn't have the Sonic to do it for him. Should I talk about the Not Things? First I'm going to talk about my big critique of this story. And that's simply put, that it aired as a 60th anniversary special. Because really, as a 60th anniversary, if it aired any other time, it would just be a really good episode. But as a 60th anniversary special, as a celebration of the show, this episode fails. It fails so hard, so bad. You know, and maybe that's probably the point, you know, because the Star Beast is an adaptation of a Fourth Doctor comic wrapped in Series 4 nostalgia. In The Giggle, we are getting Neil Patrick Harris playing a villain from the First Doctor era. This episode has nothing. Like, it's just an adventure for the Doctor and Donna to go on. It's a great episode, again, but just the fact that this is a special celebrating Doctor Who's 60th anniversary, in and of itself, in that regard, it just fails. And I've had people come after me about this. No, it does not need to be crammed up the wazoo full of fan service. It doesn't need fan service in every corner. You know, the Three Doctors, the 10th anniversary special, just had Troughton and Hartnell. And, you know, it was its own story otherwise. Really, the most fan servicey anniversary special we've ever had was the Five Doctors. The others found a really good middle ground with some elements of fan service, of show celebration, but really being its own thing. Remembrance of the Daleks, Power of the Doctor. Day of the Doctor was a little much. But the fact that this special doesn't have anything to it, nothing at all, that's kind of just, again, just the weakness of this being a 60th anniversary special. Now let's talk about the not things for a moment. Excuse me. So, the not things are sort of entities that were created in the nothing. Because again, the Doctor and Donna are on the ship at the edge of the universe. They were created in the nothing, and essentially they want to experience the universe. As they say, they want to play the game and win. So they begin sort of acclimating to the universe itself by imitating the Doctor and Donna. And at first, they get it wrong, you know. Arms are too long, jaws distort, they melt into a puddle on the floor. Or when the not Doctor takes off his tie and throws it to the ground, it suddenly vanishes because they have no idea of object permanence. And things like this. And the effects on them are another kind of weakness of this episode, because they're not great. I have a theory on that, again, because I did not watch the behind the scenes documentary, but it feels like the effects team in something just not adding up. You know, because their introduction, first of all, is really great. The Doctor and Donna split up and start trying to reconfigure the ship they're on to try and find a way to get home, because again, the TARDIS has just disappeared. And then, you know, in their respective areas, the not Doctor and the not Donna show up to talk to the Doctor and Donna. And then you don't know what's going on initially. And then it slowly starts to click. It's not them. And then you get the reveal that it's not them. Just, you know, this story has a really good sense of mounted tension, by the way. The way it just continues to mount up until the climax. It's so good. But, yeah, then the effects, when it kind of reveals that it's not them, aren't great. And what I was getting to is, it feels like, well, there was probably one or two things happen. One, most of the budget went to the Star Beast, the Giggle, and the Christmas special, and there was very little left off here. Or two, it feels like the effects team, in just a way to portray how off the not things are, we're trying to go for Uncanny Valley. The problem is that while the effects are bad, they're not that bad. So it just kind of left off where just you don't have great effects, but you don't have effects so bad that they're actually playing into the story and how off these characters are. Also, I do like this. We get a scene, you know, validation. We get a scene where Russell T Davies basically just unapologetically says he likes the Whittaker era. He likes the Chibnall era. I love it so much. And, you know, we basically get the Doctor talking about the fallout from the events of Flux and the 13th Doctor's era and how much it's shaken him. I don't know if, well, I think Davies said something about that's the only nod we're going to get, which I'm happy with, because so many people were just calling for Davies to retcon the Whittaker era, which, if you're a showrunner of Doctor Who, I don't know if you'll ever watch this, my advice, don't do that. You know, don't try to retcon something you didn't like or something that you feel didn't work. Just ignore it. But honestly, the fact that we know Davies liked the previous era, God, I love that so much. It's one of the highlights of this episode for me. In an episode that does have a lot of highlights. I like that the captain of this ship is so revered and so respected. You know, we only ever see her corpse because she's been dead for 3 years before this story even began. But the Doctor, while in the start of the climax, is trying to piece everything together and figure out what happened, he realizes what the captain did. And I think it's very telling that in the final shot, we see the last thing we see, you know, before we get to the resolution and the end of the episode, is the captain. You know, that basically this idea that even though we never met this person, the Doctor probably wouldn't have won if it wasn't for her. Um, oh god, there's just so much I want to go over with this episode, and my notes are as much an eclectic mess as this review is. So I'm trying to figure out what I haven't talked about versus what I have. Like I said, the seeds of the plot of the tension are planted really well. Let's see. Feels is an anniversary special. I talked about that. The reverence and the respect for the captain. This has. Okay, so I will talk about aside from the meh cold open, and aside from this failing as an anniversary special, I will talk about the only other issue with this special that I have. The climax isn't great. So, because so the captain realized that the not things were basically acclimatizing and adapting so fast because everyone was trying to think so fast. So before she killed herself, she set the seeds to set up something really, really slow. A plan that has been 3 years in the making. And at the end, the Doctor very quickly figures out what happened, which means the not things are able to figure out what happened. The captain basically turned the ship into a very slow bomb. And the Doctor realizes he has to accelerate the count. He has to accelerate the countdown and the detonation in order to stop them at this point. So, and of course, the TARDIS figures out, since it is a time machine, that there would be a point where it was safe to land. So it comes back for the Doctor, and the Doctor has a brief confrontation with the Donna and not Donna, trying to figure out, it's the which one do I shoot trope. So he picks up Donna and leaves. And then the not Donna, starts screaming, "You've got the wrong one." And this is where the climax loses me, because this moment feels so forced. I did not believe this for a second. Like the cold open, it feels like this was a moment added to kind of pad the runtime a little bit. I do not believe for an instant the Doctor would have grabbed the wrong Donna, even on accident. Again, the climax just loses me because, like I said, it lost me. This was not believable at all. I kind of praise the performances at the beginning here. Catherine Tate is particularly amazing here. David Tennant as the 14th Doctor. I am going to quote Council of Geeks' review of Wild Blue Yonder because I think she said it best. And I actually kind of 100% agree with her in this sentiment. I will forever be disappointed that I'm not going to quote her verbatim, but I am going to quote her thoughts. I will forever be disappointed in the fact that in terms of characterization and execution, the 14th Doctor is just the 10th Doctor. On principle, I am kind of against the idea of previous Doctors coming back to play future incarnations of the Doctor, but I do think there is some story potential there. Like if you have them play a different characterization of the Doctor than their previous version. It's why I like the Curator. So I feel like the fact that the 14th Doctor is just the 10th Doctor will always be a disappointment and a missed opportunity. All of that being said, this episode absolutely hinges on the fact that the 14th Doctor is just the 10th Doctor. This episode uses that to its full advantage. And it does it really well. David Tennant plays it fine. Again, really toned down from how obnoxious and Space Jesus-y the 10th Doctor was. I have nothing more to say. I do like the ending with Wilf. It was nice to see Bernard Cribbins again, and we know this will be his final contribution. I don't remember what exactly they said. I don't know if there was just he was planned to be in the giggle, but they never filmed it, or if this was the only scene they had planned and filmed. But it was nice to see the old soldier. Wild Blue Yonder is a highlight of this new era, and it's only the second episode. It's got great tension. It does isolation horror really well with a really well done villain. And most of my issues are just nitpicks, if I'm being honest. But those are my thoughts. Have you heard Wild Blue Yonder yet? What are yours? Please start a conversation in the comments below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Click the bell next to subscribe to get notifications when I upload. Share the video around. All of it helps my channel grow. And in the description box below, you'll find the links to my social medias where you can follow me and get updates on the channel. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next time.